Top 5 foods that heal brain cells and restore memory while you sleep. Right now, as you're watching this video, something quiet but significant is happening inside your head. Connections between your brain cells are starting to weaken, and tiny bits of waste material are building up between them like unnoticed clutter. The really concerning part is that you won't notice any of this happening. It won't bother you today or even this year. But then, one morning, you might find yourself walking into your kitchen, opening a cabinet, and suddenly feeling completely lost, wondering why you're there or what you were looking for. That momentary, unsettling pause isn't just a sign of getting older. It's the visible tip of damage that's been silently accumulating for years. But here's something crucial that most people don't know. Your brain has its own built-in maintenance crew. Every single night, when you close your eyes and drift into deep sleep, your brain kicks into gear a remarkable system for cleaning and rebuilding itself. It flushes out harmful waste products, repairs damaged brain cells, and strengthens the connections that hold your memories. This system is very real, backed by solid scientific research, and incredibly powerful. However, there's a catch. This repair crew needs specific resources, essential nutrients, compounds, and building blocks that most people over the age of 60 simply aren't getting enough of. When these materials are missing, the night shift crew shows up to work empty-handed. They can't fix what they don't have the tools for. So what you eat before you go to sleep doesn't just satisfy your hunger. It directly determines whether your brain will rebuild itself overnight or continue to break down. And I'm not talking about fancy supplements, expensive powders, or miracle cures. I'm referring to 5 specific whole foods, items you can easily find at any grocery store that provide exactly what your aging brain needs to repair itself during sleep. I'm Dr. Thomas Reed, and today I'll guide you through each of these 5 foods in detail. We'll explore the science behind your brain's nightly repair work, understand why this process starts to falter after 60, and precisely how each of these foods helps address these issues. Some of what I'm about to share might surprise you, and some of it might even contradict things you've heard for a long time. However, every claim I make today is supported by published research from reputable institutions. If you or someone you care about is over 60 and concerned about memory, mental sharpness, or long-term brain health, this could be the most important video you watch this year. So please, stay with me. We have a lot to cover. Before we dive into the foods, I need you to grasp something most doctors rarely explain to their patients. Your brain doesn't actually rest when you sleep. That's a myth. During deep sleep, your brain is actually one of the most active organs in your entire body, working harder in some ways than it does when you're awake. The difference lies in what it's focusing on. During the day, your brain is busy processing the external world, sights, sounds, language, movement, and emotions, operating in a performance mode. But at night, when you enter deep, slow-wave sleep, your brain switches to maintenance mode. This is where the real magic happens. About a decade ago, a system called the glymphatic system was discovered in the brain. Think of it as your brain's internal plumbing. During deep sleep, the spaces between your brain cells actually expand, opening up by as much as 60%. This allows cerebrospinal fluid to rush through these widened channels like a powerful cleaning fluid, flushing out metabolic waste that has built up throughout the day. And what kind of waste are we talking about? One of the most harmful is a protein fragment called beta amyloid. You might recognize this name as the sticky plaque that accumulates in the brains of people with Alzheimer's disease. However, what most people don't realize is that everyone produces beta amyloid every single day. It's a natural byproduct of brain cell activity. The problem isn't that your brain creates it, it's when your brain can't clear it out efficiently. In a healthy young brain, the glymphatic system effectively removes beta amyloid during sleep. But after the age of 60, this system begins to slow down. The channels don't open as widely, and the fluid doesn't flow as rapidly. The cleanup crew is still present, but they're working with outdated equipment and insufficient supplies. As a result, waste starts to build up night after night, year after year. This accumulation is directly linked to memory loss, cognitive decline, and eventually, neurodegenerative diseases. But clearing out waste is only half the story. While the glymphatic system is busy flushing out debris, another crucial process is happening simultaneously. Your brain is consolidating memories during deep sleep. Your hippocampus, the area of the brain responsible for forming new memories, replays the experiences and information you encountered during the day. It replays them repeatedly, strengthening the neural pathways that encode these memories and transferring them from short-term to long-term storage. This process, known as memory consolidation, relies on strong, healthy synapses. Synapses are the tiny gaps between neurons where chemical signals jump from one cell to another. Every memory you possess, every skill you've acquired, every fact you can recall exists as a pattern of these synaptic connections. During deep sleep, your brain strengthens the important synapses and prunes away the unnecessary ones, effectively editing and organizing your mental library. Here's the critical point. Both of these nighttime processes, waste removal and memory consolidation, require specific biochemical resources. They need healthy cell membranes, sufficient neurotransmitter production, anti-inflammatory compounds to prevent damage from oxidation, and the raw materials for neuroplasticity, which is your brain's ability to rewire and rebuild itself. And after 60, your body becomes significantly less effective at producing and absorbing many of these vital compounds on its own. Your gut absorbs fewer nutrients from the same food, your liver processes things differently, and certain enzyme pathways slow down. So, even if you eat a generally healthy diet, your brain might still be lacking the specific nutrients it needs to carry out its nightly repair operations. That's the gap these 5 foods are designed to fill. Each one targets a different aspect of your brain's overnight repair process. Together, they provide your sleeping brain with the complete toolkit it needs to clean house, rebuild connections, and protect itself from further damage. Now, let's move on to the first food. I want to start with something that most people don't associate with brain health, even though the scientific evidence behind it is truly remarkable: wild salmon. I know some of you might be thinking, fish is good for the brain. I've heard that 1,000 times. Tell me something new. But please, hold on, because what I'm about to explain goes far beyond the generic advice to simply eat more fish. The specific reason wild salmon can transform your brain during sleep involves a mechanism that most health content completely overlooks, and it has to do with something called the phospholipid bilayer. Every single one of your approximately 100 billion brain cells is surrounded by a membrane. This membrane isn't just a simple barrier. It's a living, active structure that controls everything entering and leaving the cell, and it dictates how signals pass between neurons, influencing how effectively your brain cells communicate. This membrane is primarily made up of a specific type of fat called docosahexaenoic acid, or DHA. You might know it better as DHA. DHA isn't just one fat among many in your brain. It's the dominant structural fat in your cerebral cortex, the outer layer of your brain responsible for thinking, reasoning, and memory. It makes up roughly 15 to 20% of the total fat content in your brain. Here's where the sleep connection comes in. During deep sleep, when your brain is consolidating memories and strengthening synapses, the integrity of these cell membranes plays a crucial role in how cleanly and efficiently signals can travel between neurons. If your cell membranes are stiff, degraded, or composed of the wrong types of fats, signal transmission becomes noisy and inefficient. It's like trying to have a phone conversation with a bad connection. The information gets garbled, memories don't form properly, and consolidation fails. After the age of 60, the DHA content in your brain naturally declines. This has been observed in autopsy studies, which consistently show lower concentrations of DHA in the cell membranes of older brains. It degrades DHA and damages cell membranes over time. Consider what this means for your sleeping brain. During the night, your brain is engaged in high-energy repair operations, which produce oxidative stress as a byproduct. Free radicals are generated, and if they aren't neutralized, they damage the very cell membranes your brain is trying to repair. Astaxanthin acts as an on-site bodyguard, protecting the repair work as it happens. A study published in the British Journal of Nutrition found that astaxanthin supplementation in older adults improved cognitive function and reduced markers of oxidative stress in the brain. Another study in the journal Marine Drugs demonstrated that astaxanthin reduced the accumulation of beta-amyloid plaques in animal models, directly supporting the glymphatic cleaning process I described earlier. And there's one more important aspect of salmon's contribution. Wild salmon is an excellent source of vitamin B12. After the age of 60, B12 absorption significantly declines due to age-related reductions in stomach acid production. Vitamin B12 deficiency is directly linked to brain shrinkage, not metaphorically, but literally. Studies using brain imaging have shown that individuals with low B12 levels have measurably smaller brain volumes and faster rates of brain atrophy compared to those with adequate levels. B12 is essential for maintaining the myelin sheath, the insulating layer that wraps around nerve fibers, allowing electrical signals to travel quickly and efficiently between neurons. When myelin degrades, signal transmission slows down, thinking becomes sluggish, reaction times increase, and memory retrieval takes longer. By providing a highly bioavailable source of B12, wild salmon helps maintain the structural integrity of the neural. All this nighttime repair possible. Tart cherries, specifically the Montmorency variety, are one of the only significant natural food sources of melatonin. Not a supplement, not a synthetic version, but actual food-derived melatonin. And before you say, wait, I thought melatonin was just a sleep supplement, let me explain why melatonin is far more important to your brain than you probably realize. Melatonin is a hormone produced by your pineal gland in response to darkness. Its primary role is to regulate your circadian rhythm, your body's internal clock that dictates when you should sleep and wake. But melatonin is also a potent antioxidant, and not just any antioxidant. Melatonin has a special property called cascade antioxidant activity. When most antioxidants neutralize a free radical, they become inactive afterward, one and done. Melatonin, on the other hand, generates metabolites when it neutralizes a free radical, and those metabolites are themselves antioxidants. So, a single molecule of melatonin can neutralize multiple free radicals in a chain reaction, making it extraordinarily efficient at reducing oxidative damage in the brain. Now, why does this matter so much? After the age of 60, melatonin production declines dramatically with age. A 70-year-old produces roughly half the melatonin of a 25-year-old, sometimes even less. This decline has two devastating consequences for brain health. First, it disrupts deep sleep architecture. You spend less time in the slow-wave deep sleep stages where glymphatic cleaning and memory consolidation occur. You wake up more frequently during the night, and the total amount of restorative sleep you get shrinks, even if you're in bed for the same number of hours. Second, you lose the antioxidant protection that melatonin, particularly high concentrations in the hippocampus, the very region responsible for memory formation, and the primary site where memory consolidation occurs during sleep. Research published in the journal Neurology found that older adults with severe vitamin D deficiency had more than double the risk of developing dementia compared to those with adequate levels. Another study in JAMA Neurology found that low vitamin D status was associated with faster rates of cognitive decline over a multi-year follow-up period. Eggs also provide complete protein with all essential amino acids, including tryptophan, which, as I mentioned with tart cherries, is a precursor to serotonin and ultimately melatonin. And they provide vitamin B12 and folate, both of which are involved in homocysteine metabolism. Elevated homocysteine is a well-established risk factor for brain atrophy and cognitive decline. Adequate B12 and folate intake helps keep homocysteine levels in check. Now, I want to address the elephant in the room, because I know some of you are thinking it. What about cholesterol? For decades, eggs were demonized because of their cholesterol content. People were told to limit eggs, avoid yolks, and eat only the whites. And many people over 60 still follow that outdated advice because it was drilled into them for so long. Here's what current science actually says. The dietary cholesterol in eggs has minimal impact on blood cholesterol levels in the vast majority of people. Your liver produces the majority of the cholesterol in your blood, and when you consume more cholesterol from food, your liver simply produces less to compensate. This regulatory mechanism has been confirmed in multiple large-scale studies. The 2015-2020 Dietary Guidelines for Americans actually removed the previous recommendation to limit dietary cholesterol to 300 milligrams per day, specifically because the evidence did not support it. More importantly, cholesterol is actually essential for brain function. Your brain contains roughly 25% of all the cholesterol in your body, despite making up only about 2% of your body weight. Cholesterol is a critical structural component of brain cell membranes and is essential for synapse formation and maintenance. Depriving your brain of cholesterol-rich foods while it's trying to rebuild synapses during sleep is counterproductive. So, to summarize food number 3, whole eggs provide choline for acetylcholine production and memory consolidation. They provide lutein and zeaxanthin for neuroprotection. They provide vitamin D for hippocampal function. They provide tryptophan for melatonin production. They provide B12 and folate for homocysteine regulation. And they provide cholesterol as a structural building block for brain cell membranes. All of this from one of the cheapest, most accessible, and most versatile foods on the planet. 2 to 3 eggs daily, with the yolks, is a reasonable and well-supported target for brain health. If you've been throwing away yolks based on outdated dietary guidelines, it's time to reconsider that habit. Your sleeping brain needs what those yolks contain. Now, let's talk about food number 4. This is the one that, when I explain the mechanism, will fundamentally change how you think about a food you probably already have in your kitchen: walnuts. Every food on this list so far has targeted a specific aspect of nighttime brain repair. Salmon rebuilds cell membranes, tart cherries optimize the sleep that makes repair possible, and eggs fuel neurotransmitter production and provide structural building blocks. But walnuts do something different. Walnuts target the repair process itself at the genetic level, influencing which genes in your brain cells get turned on and which get turned off during sleep. And that's an extraordinary thing for a food to do. The primary mechanism here involves a compound found in walnuts called ellagic acid. When you eat walnuts, the ellagic acid is metabolized by your gut bacteria into compounds called urolithins, particularly urolithin A. Urolithin A has been one of the hottest topics in aging research over the past several years, and for good reason. It activates a cellular process called mitophagy. Mitophagy is your cell's quality control system for mitochondria. Mitochondria, as you may recall from biology class, are the energy-producing structures inside every cell. Your brain cells are among the most energy-hungry cells in your body. Despite making up only 2% of your body mass, your brain consumes roughly 20% of your total energy, and that energy comes from mitochondria. As you age, mitochondria accumulate damage. Their internal DNA, which is separate from the DNA in your cell nucleus, is particularly vulnerable to oxidative damage because it lacks the protective histone proteins that shield nuclear DNA. Damaged mitochondria become less efficient at producing energy and start generating more free radicals as a byproduct. They become like old, malfunctioning factories that produce less product and more pollution. Mitophagy is the process by which your cells identify these damaged mitochondria, break them down, and recycle their components to build new, healthy mitochondria. It's the ultimate cellular renewal process, and it happens primarily during sleep when your cells shift from performance mode to maintenance mode. After the age of 60, mitophagy becomes less efficient. Damaged mitochondria accumulate, and brain cells progressively lose their energy production capacity. This energy deficit directly impairs every aspect of nighttime brain repair. The glymphatic system requires energy to drive fluid flow. Memory consolidation requires energy for synaptic strengthening, and neurotransmitter production requires energy. Without adequate cellular energy, the entire repair system slows down. Urolithin A from walnut consumption has been shown to restore mitophagy efficiency. A landmark study published in Nature Medicine demonstrated that urolithin A improved mitochondrial health and muscle function in older adults. Subsequent research has shown similar benefits in brain tissue, with improved mitochondrial function in neurons leading to better energy production and reduced oxidative stress. But urolithin A isn't the only brain-relevant compound in walnuts. Walnuts are also the richest tree nut source of alpha-linolenic acid, ALA, the plant-based omega-3 fatty acid. While I mentioned earlier that ALA conversion to DHA is inefficient, ALA has its own independent anti-inflammatory effects in the brain. It inhibits the production of pro-inflammatory eicosanoids and helps maintain cell membrane fluidity in ways that complement the DHA from salmon. Walnuts also contain exceptionally high levels of polyphenolic compounds. A study published in the Journal of Nutrition found that walnuts have the highest total polyphenol content of any commonly consumed nut, nearly twice the amount found in almonds, peanuts, or pistachios. These polyphenols, including pedunculogen, telemigrandin, and casuarictin, have demonstrated potent antioxidant and anti-neuroinflammatory effects in laboratory studies. And here's a particularly compelling finding. The Nurses' Health Study, one of the largest and longest-running nutritional epidemiological studies ever conducted, followed over 19,000 women for years and found that regular walnut consumption was associated with significantly better cognitive function in later life. Women who consumed 5 or more servings of nuts per week, with walnuts being the most frequently consumed nut, performed measurably better on cognitive tests compared to non-nut consumers. Another study, published in the Journal of Alzheimer's Disease, found that supplementing the diet with walnuts improved learning ability and memory in animal models and significantly reduced beta amyloid accumulation. The researchers attributed these effects to a combination of the antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and mitophagy-enhancing properties of walnut compounds. There's also a fascinating structural detail about walnuts that I can't help mentioning, even though it's not scientific evidence. Have you ever looked at a walnut closely? When you crack open the shell, the walnut inside is shaped remarkably like a brain. 2 hemispheres, wrinkled folds resembling the gyri and sulci of the cerebral cortex. It's one of those interesting coincidences that has captured people's attention for centuries. The doctrine of signatures, an old philosophical concept, suggested that foods resembling body parts would benefit those organs. In the case of walnuts and the brain, modern research has actually confirmed what ancient observers speculated. Sometimes pattern recognition gets it right. The ideal amount is roughly 1 ounce per day, which is approximately 14 walnut halves or a small handful. This amount consistently appears in research as the threshold where cognitive benefits become measurable. Eating them efficiently, regardless of your MTHFR genetic status. But spinach isn't just a folate delivery system. It's a comprehensive brain repair food that attacks cognitive decline from multiple angles simultaneously. Spinach is extremely rich in nitrates. Dietary nitrates are converted by bacteria in your mouth and gut into nitric oxide, a molecule that dilates blood vessels and improves blood flow. And blood flow to the brain is not a trivial issue for nighttime repair. Every nutrient, every molecule of oxygen, every building block that reaches your brain cells during sleep gets there through blood vessels. If blood flow is restricted, which it increasingly is after 60 due to arterial stiffness and endothelial dysfunction, then the delivery system for nighttime repair is compromised. A study from Wake Forest University found that a high nitrate diet increased blood flow specifically to the frontal lobes of the brain in older adults. The frontal lobes are responsible for executive function, planning, decision-making, and working memory, all functions that decline with age. age. Another study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that dietary nitrate supplementation improved cognitive performance in older adults, particularly in tasks requiring sustained attention and processing speed. The timing here is significant. Nitric oxide production from dietary nitrates follows a slow, sustained release pattern. Eating spinach with dinner means that nitric oxide levels in your blood will be elevated throughout the early and middle portions of your sleep, precisely when deep, slow-wave sleep and the associated brain repair processes are most active. You are essentially opening the highways that deliver repair materials to your brain right when the repair crew needs them most. Spinach also contains exceptionally high levels of magnesium. 1 cup of cooked spinach provides roughly 157 milligrams of magnesium, making it one of the richest food sources available. Magnesium is directly involved in over 600 enzymatic reactions in your body, and its role in brain function is multifaceted. Magnesium regulates NMDA receptors, which are the primary receptors involved in synaptic plasticity and long-term potentiation, the molecular mechanisms of memory formation. Research from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology found that a specific form of magnesium increased synaptic density and improved both short-term and long-term memory in aging animal models. The researchers found that elevated brain magnesium levels enhanced the brain's ability to strengthen synaptic connections, the very process that memory consolidation during sleep depends on. Magnesium also promotes deep sleep. It activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest mode that prepares your body for sleep. It regulates GABA receptors, the primary inhibitory neurotransmitter system that calms neural activity and facilitates sleep onset. And it helps regulate cortisol, the stress hormone, which, when elevated at night, disrupts sleep architecture and impairs nighttime brain repair. Spinach is also one of the richest dietary sources of vitamin K1. Now, vitamin K is typically associated with blood clotting and bone health, but emerging research has revealed a critical role for vitamin K in brain health that was previously unknown. Vitamin K is involved in the synthesis of sphingolipids, a class of fats that are essential components of brain cell membranes. Sphingolipids are particularly concentrated in myelin, the insulating sheath around nerve fibers. A study published otherwise limit absorption. A warm spinach sauté with dinner, seasoned with olive oil to enhance absorption of the fat-soluble vitamins, is an easy and effective way to deliver these brain-critical nutrients in the hours before sleep. Now that you understand each food individually, I want to pull back and show you the bigger picture. Because these 5 foods were not chosen randomly, each one was selected because it fills a specific gap in your brain's nighttime repair process that the other 4 do not. Together, they form a complete system. Think of it this way. Imagine your brain's overnight repair operation as a construction site. Wild salmon provides the building materials, the DHA for cell membranes, the B12 for myelin, and the astaxanthin for on-site damage protection. Tart cherries are the scheduling manager, ensuring the work actually happens by optimizing the depth and duration of the sleep that makes repair possible, while also suppressing the inflammation that would otherwise interfere with the construction. Eggs provide the fuel and the chemicals, the choline for acetylcholine production, the vitamin D for hippocampal signaling, and the cholesterol for membrane construction. Walnuts are the quality control team, triggering mitophagy to clear out old, malfunctioning cellular machinery and replace it with new, efficient equipment. And spinach is the infrastructure, the blood flow that delivers everything to the site, the folate that powers the genetic switches, and the magnesium that strengthens the final product. Remove any one of these, and the system works less effectively. Provide all 5, and you have given your sleeping brain every major tool it needs to do its job. And there are specific synergies between these foods that amplify their individual effects. The DHA from salmon and the vitamin E from spinach work together to protect cell membranes. DHA providing the structural fat, and vitamin E preventing its oxidation. The melatonin from tart cherries and the magnesium from spinach both promote deep sleep through different mechanisms, creating a more robust effect than either alone. The choline from eggs and the folate from spinach are both essential for the methylation cycle. Each is required for the other to function properly. The nitric oxide from spinach increases blood flow, which enhances the delivery of DHA, astaxanthin, choline, and every other brain-active compound from the other foods. This is not a random list. It's an integrated system, and the research supporting each individual component is strong enough on its own that combining them into a single dietary pattern gives you a genuinely powerful approach to supporting brain health during sleep. I want to spend a few minutes on timing, because when you eat these foods matters almost as much as which foods you eat. Your brain's nighttime repair processes follow a predictable schedule that aligns with your sleep architecture, and delivering the right nutrients at the right time can significantly enhance their effectiveness. Deep, slow-wave sleep, the stage where glymphatic cleaning is most active and where the initial phase of memory consolidation begins, occurs predominantly in the first half of the night. This is the stage where beta amyloid is cleared, where cerebrospinal fluid flows most freely through expanded intercellular channels, and where the physical cleanup of the brain is most intense. REM sleep, where emotional memory processing and creative integration occur, becomes longer and more frequent in the second half of the night. For the nutrients that support deep sleep and early night repair processes, you want them circulating in your blood and available to your brain during that first half of the night. This means consuming them roughly 2 to 4 hours before bed, which typically aligns with dinner time for most people. Salmon consumed at dinner provides DHA and astaxanthin that will be circulating during those critical first deep sleep cycles. Spinach consumed at dinner provides nitrates that will be converted to nitric oxide over the next several hours, enhancing brain blood flow during early sleep. Eggs consumed at dinner provide choline that will be available for acetylcholine synthesis as your brain enters its memory consolidation phases. Tart cherries are best consumed slightly later, about 1 to 2 hours before bed, to align the melatonin peak with your natural sleep onset window. A small glass of tart cherry juice or a portion of dried tart cherries in the late evening, after dinner but before bed, is ideal timing. Walnuts are somewhat more flexible because the conversion of ellagic acid to urolithin by gut bacteria is a slow process that unfolds over many hours. Eating walnuts at dinner or as an evening snack both work well, as the urolithin production will peak during the overnight hours regardless. This is not about being obsessively precise. It's about developing a general pattern of eating these foods in the evening rather than in the morning, so that the nutrients are available when your brain's repair systems are most active. Before I wrap up, I want to address a few common misconceptions that I see circulating online, which might prevent you from getting the full benefit of what I've shared today. The first misconception is that brain health is all about antioxidants. You see countless lists of superfoods that are just ranked by their antioxidant capacity, their ORAC score, or their polyphenol content. And while antioxidants are important, they are only one piece of the puzzle. If you're loading up on blueberries and green tea, but not providing structural fats for cell membranes, precursors for neurotransmitter synthesis, or support for mitochondrial renewal, you're addressing one dimension of a multidimensional problem. That's why this list includes foods that work through very different mechanisms. Antioxidant protection is necessary, but not sufficient. The second misconception is that you can supplement your way to brain health. I'm not against supplements in principle, but whole foods provide nutrients in complex matrices alongside cofactors, fiber, and companion compounds that enhance absorption and utilization in ways that isolated supplements cannot replicate. The choline in an egg yolk comes packaged with phospholipids that facilitate its incorporation into cell membranes. The DHA in salmon comes alongside astaxanthin that protects it from oxidation. The folate in spinach comes with magnesium and vitamin K that participate in related biochemical pathways. These synergies exist because these nutrients evolved together in food, and your body is designed to receive them that way. The third misconception is that what you eat doesn't matter if you have bad genetics. This is one of the most damaging myths in health. Yes, genetics influence your risk for cognitive decline. Some people carry the APOE4 allele, which increases Alzheimer's risk. Some people have MTHFR variants that affect folate metabolism. But genetics are not destiny, they are a predisposition, and nutritional interventions can dramatically modify how genetic risk actually manifests. Epigenetics, the study of how gene expression is modified by environmental factors, including diet, has shown conclusively that what you eat can turn risk genes up or down. The folate in spinach, the DHA in salmon, the polyphenols in walnuts. These compounds all have documented epigenetic effects. You can't change your genes, but you can absolutely change which of your genes are active. The fourth misconception is that brain decline after 60 is inevitable and irreversible. This is flatly wrong. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new connections and reorganize existing ones, persists throughout life. Neurogenesis, the formation of entirely new neurons, continues in the hippocampus well into old age, though at a reduced rate. The brain is not a machine that simply wears out. It is a living, adaptive organ that responds to the inputs it receives. Give it the right inputs, especially during the critical overnight repair window, and it can maintain and even improve its function far longer than most people believe is possible. Let me give you a clean summary you can refer back to. Food number 1, wild salmon, 2 to 3 servings per week, ideally 1 at dinner. Provides DHA for cell membranes, astaxanthin for antioxidant protection inside the brain, and B12 for myelin maintenance. Food number 2, tart cherries, daily, 1 to 2 hours before bed. Tart cherry juice concentrate, frozen tart cherries, or dried tart cherries without added sugar provide natural melatonin, anthocyanins for neuroinflammation reduction, and tryptophan for additional melatonin production. Food number 3, whole eggs with yolks, 2 to 3 daily with at least some at dinner. Provides choline for acetylcholine and memory consolidation, lutein for neuroprotection, vitamin D for hippocampal function, and essential amino acids including tryptophan. Food number 4, walnuts, 1 ounce daily, approximately 14 halves, at dinner or as an evening snack. Provides ellagic acid for urolithin A production and autophagy activation, alpha-linolenic acid for anti-inflammatory effects, and concentrated polyphenols for antioxidant protection. Food number 5, dark leafy spinach, 2 cups fresh or 1 cup cooked daily with dinner. Provides natural folate for methylation, nitrates for brain blood flow, magnesium for synaptic plasticity and sleep quality, vitamin K for sphingolipid synthesis, and vitamin E for membrane protection. So there it is, 5 foods, 5 distinct mechanisms, 1 integrated system designed to give your sleeping brain everything it needs to clean, repair, and rebuild itself after 60. Your brain is not a passive organ that simply deteriorates with time. It is an active living system that fights to maintain itself every single night. But it cannot fight with empty hands. What you put on your plate tonight will determine how effectively your brain repairs itself while you sleep. That is not a metaphor, that is biochemistry. I'm Dr. Thomas Reed. If this information was valuable to you, share it with someone you care about, because the people who need this most are often the ones who have never heard it. I will see you in the next